They've demolished the McDonald's. That's going to be replaced by a new pad for SunTrust. The SunTrust site will be demolished and replaced by a Walgreens.
Yeah.
And right now, Walgreens is the most stable drugstore chain of all of the big names.
It is.
It's more stable than CVS and Rite Aid.
Oh,
and
yeah, by far.
You're right.
Read on the so that's going to be good.
Yeah.
Free State went from an enclosed mall to a completely different shopping center.
Yeah.
And it was fully tenanted. It's starting to see some of the smaller tenants drop out and transition. But in that process, Giant built a new, larger store than it had.
Mm-hmm.
That led to the closing at that led to the closing at Bowie Plaza.
Mm-hmm.
And that created a gap. Giant continues to pay rent on their space at Bowie Plaza.
To prevent someone from going in.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And they have said after meetings with the city that, no, we'd let a grocery store in. Well, it's easy enough to say, but the groceries are just like any other retail business. They look at the economy and said, well, we need to slow down.
Right.
So we may or may not get a replacement grocery in there as the market picks up. We're certainly talking to them.
Yeah.
And we're looking for concepts. One thing that we're hoping is going to help us is the fact that Aldi's is here. Folks may not know that Aldi's, the German company that's the parent of Aldi's USA, also owns Trader Joe's.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
Trader Joe's is, of course, one of the two most desired grocery stores. As I'm out in the community, perhaps as you're out there hearing it too, folks are saying, why can't we have a Trader Joe's? How come we don't have a Whole Foods? And more recently, why couldn't we get a Wegmans? Different story.
Well, we don't need a Whole Foods now, but boy, Trader Joe's.
No, we don't need a Whole Foods.
I go to Towson when we're up near, in Baltimore, near my son's house, to go shopping at Trader Joe's. There's one in Annapolis too.
That's it.
Yeah, I go there.
Our family goes to Annapolis also. We'd love to get it closer.
Yeah.
So that's coming along. That leaves us Marketplace.
Yeah.
Its demise started long before I got here.
Yeah.
In fact, an interesting story. When wife and I sold our house in Leesburg, which we did after we moved to Bowie, we were celebrating the successful closing of the deal with our realtor at a restaurant in Loudoun County. And the waitress was the daughter of the gentleman who owned Marketplace originally. Was it Ziegler?
Yeah, Ziegler. Sure, Francis X. Ziegler.
And she had some stories to tell about her father and how the center came to decline and lose its tenants. Interesting ones. Can't confirm them, but they're great ones to talk about over a beer. That was the shopping center that Doug Jamal of Douglas Development bought in a foreclosure sale right about the time I got here in 2001. He brought in a couple of tenants. He brought in the drugstore, which at the time was Eckerd's, now owned by Rite Aid.
That's right,
And he brought Long and Foster in.
Big deal.
There, office space. He also worked with the old Roy Rogers Hardee's pad that became the Dry Clean Depot. Douglas Development sold it to J.B.G. Rosenfeld. J.B.G. Rosenfeld is the owner that redeveloped Free State. They no longer own Free State. They sold Free State almost the same time they were buying Marketplace. Two different deals there. But that all happened at the top of the market. JBG paid a premium price for Marketplace, and then the world of retail development kind of collapsed around them. They're a stable company. They have a good, strong plan based in great part on the area master plan that was devised here about 5 years ago, which views it as a mixed-use community, retail primarily, but reconfigured. Instead of the three enclosed buildings on an odd angle to the street, they see it with a center street and some grass area and multiple separate buildings anchored by Safeway. And they do have a commitment from Safeway to be at a new store.
Well, that one that's there right now could certainly use a facelift.
It sure could.
Are they still going to put gas pumps there?
There's an application pending. It's been pending now for almost 2 years. And as of today, we have still not heard if a hearing date or an application has been placed at the county level.
Oh, okay.
I
think it's an appalling idea.
It's still in preliminaries. That's the current model that Safeway uses.
Yeah.
You can see the way it works at Fairwood, just west of us here in Bowie. And it seems to do really well with some attention to detail on the landscaping from the main street. It's not visually obnoxious at all. So it can be an acceptable use there.
Yeah.
Well, it was the one in Dunkirk, Maryland. It was one of the first time.
Not a Safeway with gas pumps?
Yeah. And I'll tell you, of course, that's one of their top Safeway stores in anywhere. But I didn't think it would work. I thought it was a nuisance.
Yeah.
But it was up tucked in the corner, going down the street. You couldn't even see it.
Yeah.
But
That's right.
Well, BJ's Warehouse has a similar situation.
Yeah.
Their
There's some
pumps
of
are
that.
way out
They
over.
do.
Yeah.
And that's even, it's designed pretty well, the Safeway thing did. I could think about it and picture it here as it stands now. There's plenty of room there for it, even the way things are. But it probably kind of, the whole master plan, or the plan they are going to be guided by with the new street in the center and all this stuff, it sounds like they're doing it similar to Fairwood in the sense of having some landscaping and everything.
It will certainly have some visual similarities. The concept of open style development rather than the solid wall of construction is a very popular style currently. I think a lot of us who see it look at it and say, well, that looks nicer than a solid wall of storefront.
Yeah.
It has a nicer, more comfortable, more inviting feel there.
Well, John, you're doing so well there, but I've got to ask you this about the marketplace since you're on that subject. Now, in the paper, it did say owner proposed to redevelop marketplace, but it says here Bowie would finance project in return for later tax windfall. Is that in the plans?
That's an interesting way to phrase it. What the owners are looking for is a way to finance it. We know the financial markets have kind of collapsed, and as they're rebuilding, the development team has to find a way to finance the demolishing of the existing center and the rebuilding of the new center. One of the tools that's used throughout the United States is a tool called tax increment financing. We've not used it here in Bowie, so it's a new concept. The developer did come to the city council and said, we'd like you to consider using this tool to help us. And the council said, okay, we're not opposed to it. We're not in favor of it. Staff, go out, do some research, come back to us with a policy. So right now the staff is working on a tax increment finance policy to bring back to the city council. And from that...
Well, from your experiences with within the field, does this tend to work? I mean, it just sounds
it can
off the wall to me.
if we have a specific outcome in mind. It's not one of, it would not likely work if this was something that came in to propose a use or a future outcome that we had not already decided was an outcome we wanted. The outcome I think the city wants is a redevelopment of and a reinvigoration of the marketplace area as a commercial center.
Well, they're going to get PNC Bank there at the...
On the corner.
Yeah.
Going to be brand new.
Boy, I hated to see that station go. I'd done business with them for 40 years.
As did I. The only place you could get a car wash.
That's right,
But the brushes didn't hit your car inside the city.
Yeah.
So that was the loss. But tax increment financing is an easy-to-use tool, real hard to understand, and I'm by no means an expert. The idea is this. Today we get a certain level of tax revenue from the taxes on that property. If a tax increment financing approach is used, that income is capped today. As the developer comes in and redevelops and improves the property, in theory the assessed value goes up and there would be more revenue received by the taxing entities. We'd still get that today value, and any increased value would be available for use in financing the development. Well, you need to pay the money up front to redevelop it. So how does that work? A bond is sold, not by the city, but by the developer. It's a private, but tax increment financed by that increased revenue stream that will come in the future.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. And the governments that are involved, it is not part of the government's debt, and it's not a risk to the government. The government does not have to pay that back.
No.
The developer and the private sector and the landowners have to pay it back.